know-nothing party. An explosion of know-nothingism just takes over the entire country. You get a president, Millard Fillmore. We got governors of states, Charles Slaughter Moorhead. You're getting mayors. You're getting Congress people. You're getting lots of people taking power through the know-nothing party. So, but that eventually they died down. 1855, and then 6 years later you got the Civil War. So once you have, a massive war where citizen is murdering citizen, that's going to really change things. So when you have something like that, then all bets are off. So before slavery and after slavery, or before Civil War, I guess same thing in a way, but before the Civil War, after the Civil War, marks a substantial change and difference in how Americans had treated each other. So that's sort of why a lot of American history classes will cover Columbus till the Civil War, and then the Civil War on up. But knowing the Know-Nothing Party is important because it happened right beforehand. It also shows a continuity of racism and a love for violence in order to defend that which is ignorant. So they're going to, use violence against German people because why? Because they speak differently, they talk different. They just don't like them. They just hate people because they don't recognize those people as being them. Nowadays, German and Irish are solidly in the white community. I would think even if they spoke a different language, even though that would be hard to, communicate and get along with them, but if they learned enough English, and I think it would be, I don't know, I can't tell who the Irish and Germans are today when I look at America. So it's all white people, right? So the Germans and the Irish were successfully able to assimilate. Unfortunately, when they assimilated into the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant culture, there's no culture there. It's just a culture of strict obedience to God and to bosses, and it's puritanical. So it's no sex and no premarital sex. So it's sort of like the Shakers, right? You can't, if it feels good, you can't do it. But that's like the Catholic Church too. So that it's so weird. I like the title, "The Bible Wars in Pennsylvania," because it's the Protestants versus the Catholics. There's a Protestant nation, predominantly a Protestant nation. When America first started, 2/3 were white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. There were foreign elements. There were, Catholics and Germans and Irish and Italians and French and Spanish. So you had lots of people when America was formed. It was a multicultural society when the U.S. Constitution was penned, when the American Revolution was fought. It was fought with Scots-Irish. It was fought with Germans. It was fought with Frenchmen. So America has always been, ever since white people came to this island, an immigrant nation, right? So clearly, my ancestors, I think when white people start thinking about their own ancestors, they're going to start to realize that they were immigrants. My ancestors didn't have a visa. They didn't ask for permission. They just got the hell out of Dodge. Otto von Bismarck had his wars for German unification. They had 3 boys, 18, 15, 12. They're about to be conscripted if they weren't already conscripted in the Prussian-Austrian War, or the Denmark War of 1864, or the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 to 1871. They got out in 1869. There's also chain migration, and actually I'm going to go through this entire book with that. So actually, I'm going to go, I don't know, I got all these tabs and I got this thing. So I'm gonna knock these tabs out, and I'm gonna do this because I'm really gonna be satisfied with the German American experience, because it's this book that really makes me feel like a German, and it showed me how everything that America does good and does well really came from Germany. So the engineers, the bridges, I wouldn't say the education system is good, but it's produced a couple scientists and some inventors, and some really, though, like Bill Gates. So the education system doesn't make any geniuses, but because they try to force knowledge on you, real people fight that and then develop knowledge and find out shit for themselves. And so maybe that's the appeal. Hamburgers, hot dogs, Christmas, continental sundaes, alcohol, beverages, allowed the sale of alcohol. So Germans brought a shit ton to America. Puritan, really, there is no Puritans. We live in a people pretend to be Puritan, but they're fucking, I remember a Catholic Church, actually, it's clear, no premarital sex, but I remember a woman that I had, a girl, actually, that I had a first communion with, when in confirmation with, she had said, those Christians say they can't have premarital sex. I'm glad I'm Catholic and I'm allowed to. It's like, no, actually, you're not. So, but that's the thing. So the Catholics knew what was right and wrong, but that question never came up. There was no conversation. It was listen to the priest, give him money, There was no culture. There was nothing there. Same thing with the Protestants. Business, murdering Native Americans, enslaving Africans. 1856, you had Margaret Gardner, the slave who sliced her own daughter's throat to prevent her from going back into slavery, from being raped and to being in bondage and being told what to do constantly, all day from sun up to sundown, you know, never having a day off. So she killed her own daughter out of the biggest, most, you know, greatest act of love, the greatest kindest act of love that she thought that she could have given to the slave, because by murdering her child, it would prevent her child from going through the horror and the hell that she had to endure every day. You know, not only being a slave, and I also heard it was the master's kid too, so she could have just been a revenge killing, like, oh, okay, you're going to make me go back to slavery? Well, I'm not raising your kid, you fucking piece of shit. This is the devil's kid right here, being made in, you know, hatred, being made from a rape. It's a rape baby. So it could have been out of hatred. It could have been, you know, and then they turned it into a cause celebrate. But the idea is, you know, maybe she was just so scared and she panicked and she was like, fuck this, we're all going out. But her argument was that she would rather kill her own kid than allow to see her kid to go through slavery. That's how bad fucking slavery was. So let's knock some of these out. You have a bunch of know-nothing riots. In fact, you have a Wikipedia here, and they only named two. The Washington riots. Washington, D.C. had know-nothing riots in 1857. New Orleans had know-nothing riots in 1858. St. Louis had know-nothing riots in 1854. So this was all around 1855. In 1855, you had Chicago, Columbus, Cincinnati, St. Louis, New Orleans, and Louisville, who all had some type of violence that happened, right? So there's a lot of people that was killed in Louisville on election day. One person was killed in Chicago, and 60 were arrested in 1855. But you have Washington, D.C., 1857, New Orleans, 1858, St. Louis, 1854. So during the 1850s, know-nothing people are taking over posts all over the place. They're using violence to defend their ignorance, to keep people from the polls, and that violence is working. So the Mississippi Plan, we're seeing that the Mississippi Plan is going to work. We're seeing that we're seeing the rise of the Ku Klux Klan, of finding a scapegoat. So we're seeing a lot of Hitler-esque totalitarian fascism here, use of violence in order to get what they want. And what they want, these white Anglo-Saxon Protestants who didn't believe in alcohol, you weren't allowed to have picnics on Sunday, they were against Christmas. So these stuck-up, really, you know, aristocratic, Victorian, and they're no better than anybody else. Who the fuck are these white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, you know, bitches, pieces of shit, fucking dick holes to say what's right and what isn't right? Because they're saying basically there's one white Christian group saying they're more white and more Christian than another white Christian group. We're more American. We've been here longer. You're not American at all. But they were actually English speaking. They brought a foreign culture to this land too. So they can't make any better arguments to the German people, to the Irish. But evidently they did oppress enough to where Germans and Irish actually adopted their culture, lost their tongue. I don't hear anybody speaking Gaelic, Irish. I think that's a different language. But specifically with the German culture, since we've been at war with another German empire, right, with another, but with another empire, the Germans, we're not allowed to speak Germanism. And so the nationalism, what nationalism is, when you get, you know, people that say there's no such thing as African, I feel like that's a racist argument. People say, fuck the hyphenated, you know, no African American, no German American, no Irish American. That's bullshit. We're all American, but we all have roots too. Since we're an immigrant nation, I think we should tie the roots with the wings. Yeah, we're American. 30% of Kentuckians says, we're not Europeans, we're just fucking American. You don't understand yourselves, because within the history of the last 10,000 years of human population on this continent, in Kentucky, you've had people. In the last 200 years, you had European people. Before that, you've had, you know, brown-skinned people, Native Americans, Shawnee, Ute, Cherokee, Potawatomi, Kickapoo, Miami. So you got the Shawnee that's running around, you know, Kentucky for 10,000 years. So to sit there and just be like, I'm a Native American, you're fucking lying. Like, yeah, you are Native American, like, semantically, and I understand that because I'm born on this land too. I'm American. Yes, I'm comfortably 100% American. There's no doubt about that. What I'm saying is that nationalism, to say that you're only an American, that's very limiting, because I'm not only an American, I'm also a Kentuckian. I grew up in Kentucky, and I love my home state. I have an irrational love for Kentucky. In fact, Kentucky is the best state. It's the shittiest state if you look at, the facts and the stats. But ignore the facts and the stats and just look at the beauty and the landscape and the mountains. And there's good people too. There's shitty people. There's going to be good and shitty anywhere you go. But the landscape and the mountains. So there's so I'm a Kentuckian, and I'm also sort of a Muldrowian because I'm in Muldrow. When I'm in Louisville, I'm a Louisville. So I'm a U of L-ian. I'm a master. So there's all these other nationalistic fucking things. Actually, one of my favorite nationalistic things, and I know I was trying to not be nationalistic, but it's hard to talk about the 1855 Know Nothing riots without getting riled up. That's bullshit. It was bullshit what they did in the Know Nothing riots. White Anglo-Saxon Protestants told to the Germans and the Irish, said, fuck you all. Fuck your Catholicism, fuck your religion, fuck you drinking alcohol, fuck you having picnics, fuck you being in our country. You want a right to vote? Fuck you. Get the fuck out. And it was bullshit. It was bullshit. It showed how fucking racist that these assholes are. They were so fucking, and so like today, actually I guess it's a good thing that we're all Americans. So that means from California to New York, we're all American, right? But there's more to all of us than just being American. So it's all good that we're all the same, but we're all different. So I like having roots. The fact that I have African blood, that means, now I can run and jump and I can dance, and and I know how to work it, right? So that's so that's good. So I got that culture going for me, but I also have when my German ancestors, when they came over here, there was no such thing as a German country. You had the Holy Roman Empire, which was the Catholic Church, and it was centered right in the Bohemian Kingdom of Bohemia, which is the Czech Republic now, but that's right next to the German-speaking people, which was Germany. So it was right next door, is what I'm saying. So you had basically the Catholic Church ruled German-speaking peoples for about 1,000 years as the Holy Roman Empire, and then it dissolved for 1,000 years, and then Germany actually came up on its own with Otto von Bismarck. He consolidated all the German-speaking peoples. And, fought the French and fought the Austrians and fought Denmark. And these are the Germans. We are the Germans. Here's our country. So Germany wasn't established until 1871. So I'm part Bohemian. I'm part Czech Republic, the Damasco part in me. So actually I think there's some confusion with the Gripshover family, okay? So there's a bigger Gripshover family with Johann and Gripshover. They had lots of kids and lots of people. And then there's my immediate cousins, my first cousins. And so I think when you look at the bigger family and you look at my first cousins, there's a big, there's a gap. It's when I look at my big family, there's only so many, there's a few stories. There's only the pioneer story that we can relate to. With my immediate cousins, we had the same grandparents, so therefore my grandparents weren't just, Gripshovers, they had mom and dad too. So that means I'm part Damasco, I'm part Bills. We had a Catherine Bills, we had an Elizabeth Hellman, so we're part Hellman, we're part Bills, we're part Damasco. And I think that's pretty much it. The Bills, Damascos, and Hellmans. So there's more to us than just the Gripshover German blood. And so who are the Bills? Well, they're the Bavarians. So we have a Bavarian influence. The Johann and Catherine are the Prussians. So we have this sort of Prussian, militant, dominating, we're the strong. So sort of the Hitler-esque, the strong will survive, comes from the Prussians. So the Prussians are to be suspected, and you should think of Prussians and Germans as sort of a warmongering type of people, dominating people. But that's anybody, to be honest with you. That's any type of person out here that wants to be strong and to achieve anything. So the work ethic is a good thing. The self-reliance is a good thing. The taking over and gassing of Jews is when that mentality goes too far. So I'm a Bohemian, so that means I'm part Czech Republic, or Czech Republic. It used to be Czechoslovakia, but they split. You got the Slovak Republic and the Czech Republic. And the Czech Republic is fascinating. It was the Sudetenlands. Hitler and Chamberlain had signed a historic agreement because Hitler took over the Sudetenlands, which is the Kingdom of Bohemia, Czech Republic, and England looked the other way. So it was like, that's okay, you're an imperialist. So sort of like Crimea, sort of like Iraq, So whenever a big country takes over another country and nobody does shit about it, it's kind of silence as complicity. It's kind of saying it's okay. That as long as you stop there, it's okay. But if they keep on taking more and more, and then they just try to take over the world, that's something to be concerned about. That's why we had the United Nations. Anyways, so that's Bohemia, the Damascus. And then after World War II, the Bohemians are going to wipe out the Germans. So you're going to have a German genocide. So they're going to get the Germans back, right? So in a way, I kind of, you know, the Bohemians are not the Germans. The Bohemians are not the Bavarians, and the Bavarians are not the Prussians. And then none of them are African. And none of them are Austrian. Austrian's a whole nother, it used to be an empire. What happened to Austria?